Hi everybody, and welcome to Making the Most of Already Created Content. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. This webinar is all about customization and differentiation for our individual learners. So my name is Samantha Clues and I'm your host for today, and today's presenter is Janice Pranstatter. Janice and I are both teaching and learning consultants for the Northern European region. We both come from teaching backgrounds and therefore have knowledge and first-hand experience of using all new technologies in the classroom. So Janice, I'm going to pass you straight over for you to get us started today.
Right, thank you very much, Sam. So on the screen now you can see the aim of this session and what we intend to cover. The objective of this series of webinars is to highlight, introduce, and remind you of the usefulness of interactive whiteboard technology and the software associated with it. We will cover some of the valuable, but not necessarily well-known, time-saving techniques for lesson creation and execution. In tonight's session, we are going to focus on already made content that can easily be customized and differentiated, cutting down on lesson preparation for you. We will demonstrate how you can make use of the knowledge and skills of others to create content that might otherwise have been beyond your personal skills or outwith the time frame that you have for lesson preparation. So let's start with already created content in ActivInspire format. For those of you that are members of Promethean Planet, you will know that this website is a huge wealth of information to support teachers in their use of technologies, Promethean technologies in particular. We like to boast that there are over 70,000 resources available, as well as blogs, forums, groups, and a host of other information. But this is of no use to you if you can't find quickly what you're looking for. Since we are talking about already created content, I'm going to take a moment to give some tips for searching for resources on Promethean Planet. There are several ways of doing this, with the most frequently used being keyword search. This option is available. You can see it here on my screen. I'm just going to go to Promethean Planet website. So this option is available at the top of the home page. You can see it here, as well as most other key pages on Promethean Planet. Here I can simply type in a keyword and hit search, and it will automatically search through all the resources on the website to come up with the most relevant ones for me. Okay, it takes a little bit of time to look through because there's loads of resources on there, and you can see right away what it brings me back is 130 resources altogether. Now that's a lot of resources, and that would take a lot of time for me to sift through them to find the ones that are actually relevant for my lesson. So there are some basic searching tips, keyword searching tips, that you can use that can help you narrow this number down to a much manageable amount of resources to look through. Let me take us back to our page, flip chart page for a minute. Okay, now we're talking about specifically tonight on Promethean Planet, but these search tips you can use in any search engine on the web. So all of these tips we're giving you here will help you just with better searches on the internet in general. So our first tip is to be specific. Be specific with your keywords instead of using general ones. For example, searching for 3D shapes instead of just shapes. You'll find that when you are more specific with your terms, your results will be much more meaningful. So in response to the one that I did, instead of searching for measure, maybe what I should have done was search for volume or mass or something more specific about measuring to narrow it down to what I want. Using exact phrases. So you can use quotes to search for an exact word or a set of words in a specific order. For example, solar system. And what that will tell the search is that the search engine is that you're looking for those two words. So it has to contain both of those two words, and it also has to contain both of those two words in that order. Use operators and or. So if you want a document that contains all of your keywords, use the capitalized word "and" between words. The engine will then only find resources that have all of those words. You can see my examples here. If I search for number and, so it's that capitalized "and" in between line, it will only find me resources that have both of those words in them. If you want to broaden your search to find lessons that contain either one keyword or another, try to think of all the keywords that might generate the results that you desire. And you separate your keywords or to come up with a more comprehensive listing. So a good thing is think of all the synonyms for what you're trying to find and the variations of that particular term, and put that in with an or separating the two words or each word. Parentheses. When combining search terms using operators and parentheses, you have much more control over your search. So again, we're using those operators, you can see, but just putting the parentheses around it makes the search engine even more aware of exactly what you're looking for. So it's just being even more specific with that search. And the last tip we have is to check your spelling. The number one reason for searches, incorrect searches, is often down to spelling. So just make sure that you have a look at that, check to make sure that the spelling is correct before you hit that search button. Okay, so let's try out tip number 3. This time I'm going to be much more specific in my search, and I'm going to type in, and you can see I've done it before there, volume and math, and I'm going to click search. This time I'm telling the system that I want only resources that contain the words volume and math. And you can see by doing that, it's really narrowed down my search options and greatly reduced the number of resources that I have to look through. So in this case, it's called up 5 for me. If you find that you've narrowed it down too far, I might think that 5 isn't really enough, and actually 4 of those are PDF. I can open up that search at any point by using the filters down the left side of my page, allowing me to refine that search criteria. So I can go back here and add some more in or take some more away to make sure that I have more options available to me to look through. So I found a resource that I like, and now I'm going to download and open it within my ActivInspire software. To do that, I just click download here, and I'm using Chrome tonight as my web browser. So in a second, you'll see that it'll launch that, come to the download page, and then my download is just going to start in the bottom left of my screen here. And we'll just give it a second to get started. Okay, and once it has finished loading, downloading, I can then select it to be opened. It'll open it up when it's done, and that will then tell it to open up within my ActivInspire software. Okay, so you can see here, we're now just starting to open it up. Okay, and there it is, open in my software. And I can see, looking down here in my browser, all of the pages of that flip chart. So that's my resources downloaded from Promethean Planet. Another way, and a much more intuitive way to search for resources on Promethean Planet, is to use the advanced search option. So you can find the advanced search option right here on the top right of the page, just next to our keyword search field. Clicking on that will open up a new window, and this allows me to place filters on my search right from the beginning. So it means that I can be very specific about the type of resources that I'm looking for right from the very beginning, cutting down on that amount of time it takes me to search and find the resources. Okay, so you can see it's opened up a new window here. So I can still put in my keyword. So this time I'm going to put in measuring. And then I want to start applying my filters. So it's a math lesson I'm looking for under geometry and measures. I would like lessons and instructional materials, and I'm going to search for Key Stage 1, 5 to 7-year-olds, or Key Stage 2 to 7 to 11-year-olds here. I could specify the type of file format that I wanted. In this case, I'm actually just going to leave it blank because I'd like to see all the different resources that it brings up. But I could specifically ask for Promethean flip charts or Promethean resource packs if I wanted to. And the last filters I can apply have to do with country and language. Now it picks up from my IP address that I'm in the United Kingdom. That automatically comes up as my default, as does English language. I could select any of the other options if I wanted to, but in this case I'm just going to leave it as the default there and just click search. Now again, this is going to do a search of the system, and we will see this time how many resources we come up with. Okay, so in this case it's showing me that we've got 20 resources, much better than the first 130 resources I had to look for, much better than the few resources I had with only 5. So I've got a much bigger variety of resources to look through, but at a manageable amount. Okay, so I can look down through there to see what I've got, and when I find a resource that fits what I want, I can then find out more information about it by hovering over top of the little spyglass, and this here gives me a little bit more information about it there. And if I wanted to find even more than that before I download it, I can go to Preview. Now I really like this Preview option because what it allows me to do is get a little thumbnail view of all of the pages within that particular flip chart. So before I actually go to the effort of downloading it onto my computer and opening it up in ActivInspire, I can very quickly see whether it's going to be relevant to my lesson or not. So if it's not, I can go back and find something else. And if I think that it is going to work for what I want to do, again, I can just click my download button here, and that's going to get my browser moving again, start the download. I'll just wait for it to come up down in the bottom here. And again, once it's finished downloading it, I'm just going to ask it to open that up within my software. Okay, and then you can see I've now got that second flip chart on there and all the pages that are within it as well. So just quickly, my first flip chart that I downloaded from Planet, and there's my second one. Okay, so let's have a look at the first flip chart that I downloaded. I like this, but the outlook of it isn't really in my style. What I like is that I can download a great resource such as this one, but be able to customize and differentiate the content to suit my class and my learners better, and also me and the way I work. I can use someone else's hard work to create a lesson that meets my learning objectives and success criteria. For example, I like to jazz up my title page a bit to capture my learner's attention right from the start. This background is fine, but I don't find it very interesting. And what I like to do is put an image on the background that will get my class thinking about what they're going to learn. So I want to capture their attention and engage them in the lesson right from that first title page. Using my properties browser, so that's up here. Now for those of you that are more familiar with the primary skin of ActivInspire, the one that I'm using today is the Studio skin. In primary, everything that I'm showing you today you can do in the same way. The properties browser that we're going to use right now is located in the same place in your browser in Active Primary. And if you're not sure where your browser is, just remember you can go to View and select the browser, and it will open up at the side of your page. Okay? I've pinned it because I like it to stay there so that I can use it for tonight, because I'm using this to show you various things, so I can pin it there and be able to edit stuff on my page very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here on my properties of my page to background, and I'm going to select the little dot, 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 and I want to find an image. So I'm actually going to go browse into my computer hard drive, and I'm going to find an image that I have stored on my computer. Okay, and luckily I've got it set right up to go to that folder for today. So I'm going to select the image that I like and click open. What I can then do is apply that to see if I like it. And I'm not really that keen on that look, so I have more options of how I can have that image appear. So in this case I'm just going to choose Best Fit and click Apply. And that's much better. So I can just click OK to say that I like that. What I can also do is I can edit that text. So I might want to move it around a little bit, put it somewhere else on the page so that I can see it a little bit more clearly. I could also go in and edit that text fully. Maybe let's change it to a different color so it stands out a little bit more on our page, and see if we like that one. Okay, so right away I've taken that resource, I've downloaded from Promethean Planet, and already I've customized it slightly to suit the way I want to use it with my learners. Now, the teacher that designed this flip chart put the learning objectives at the top of every page. So you can see here that she shared the learning objective for this particular lesson at the top of each page. What I like to do with my class is I like to discuss the learning objective before I show them the actual activities. ActivInspire is great because it enables me to add a blank page at any point in my lesson. To do this, I just go up to Insert, Page, and I just want to add a blank page before the current. And you can see in my browser here, it's now put a blank page in there. This is a great option for those teachable moments that come up in the middle of a lesson. So somebody asks a really good question, all you want is a blank page to be able to explore that a little bit further. Well, instead of having to leave the flip chart that you're working on, you can just go up to Insert, Page, and add that blank page in there, ready to be used. Now, what I could then do is go to my text, and I could then type in the text that I want. But I'm going to be even more lazy or time efficient than that, because I'm going to go to my page down here, and I can see that I've got that text there that has that learning objective. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to pick that up, and I'm not able to. And the reason for that is that this teacher locked some of the objects and text down on the page so that when her class came up, they would only be able to interact with the parts of the page that she wanted them to interact with. So a really, really effective way of using the software. But that's okay. I can still edit this page. What I need to do is go up to the little snowflake here at the top right. I call it a snowflake anyway. And when I click on it, it turns orange, and that means I'm now in design mode. What design mode does is it unlocks anything that's locked onto my page, or it stops anything that has an action that's attached to it. So in this case, it unlocks that text, and I can drag that text and drop it onto the page above. Okay, so right away, I've saved time. I don't have to type out that learning objective. I can drag and drop it onto my page, and then I can resize it. Maybe I want to move it around a little bit. I can center that so it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, we could then add in our success criteria if we wanted to. But as I say, not having to start from scratch, being able to do that with somebody else's flip chart and just customize it to suit the way I want to use it. Okay. Now, I can also duplicate or delete pages quickly from a flip chart using my page browser. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and at the bottom, because this was on volume and math, you can see it's got volume at the top and then math at the bottom. But I'm not actually doing math with my class at this point. I only want to look at volume. So the pages at the bottom aren't actually relevant to this lesson. So what I can do is I can get rid of them. So if I click on a page in the browser and click on that little menu button that appears, and I can delete that right from there. Okay? If you're using the primary skin, you can do that as well. Your thumbnails will appear down at the bottom, and clicking on a thumbnail, you'll automatically get that little menu button that comes up. Okay, so you can just select it and then click delete there to remove it. So I can remove it one page at a time, or what I can do is control click on my computer and I could delete multiple pages as well. Okay, so I could really quickly, oh, and I duplicated it. I apologize. Let's try that again. This time, let's delete it instead of duplicating them. Delete. And I can take all of those pages out that I don't want. Okay? Now, as I've said, I can also, and you saw there, I can also duplicate a page. And I might want to do this so that I can extend the activity or differentiate it slightly for different ability learners. So again, I just want to select the page I want and click that little menu, and I want to duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate that page. And I've now got a second page down here. Okay? So what I could do then is just edit this page slightly. So in this case, I'm just going to take that little measuring beaker out there, and I'm going to go into my resource library, and knowing where I have it, I'm just going to go into my shared resources under mathematics and measurement, and we're looking at volume, so I just go to volume here, and you can see I've got some more beakers. So I find that my group actually need a little bit more practice with that, so what I can do is drag in a beaker that has a different scale. I want to take out the fill, so I can just do that, delete that shape very easily. And then I also want to take out the measurements here because they're not going to be relevant anymore. So I can Control-click to select them and delete them. And there you are. I've got a differentiated page. Okay. I could also extend the activity, making it a little bit more difficult for those of my learners that are finding the activity fairly easy. So I can duplicate the page again. And this time, I'm going to take that jug out and back into my resource library there. I have a jug that doesn't have a scale on it. Okay, so I can challenge my pupils more by now writing up an approximate scale and then getting them to guess what they think each of the volumes are. Really simply, really quickly, how fast I did that, making and extending an activity and differentiating the activity. Okay. All of the techniques that I've shown so far allow me to customize and differentiate someone else's content to better suit the learning objectives and needs of my learners. I save valuable preparation time by not having to start from scratch. I've also challenged myself by using ideas and techniques that I may not know how to do within the software or have thought of myself for teaching the subject in this way. Before I move on to content not created in ActivInspire, I want to give you one more helpful tip. Sometimes I've started a flip chart myself, or I found 2 flip charts that have pages in each that would suit my lesson, but I only want several pages from them together into one flip chart. So that's the idea I've got here. I have 2 flip charts here that have some really great ideas, but I only want the pages that have to do with volume. I don't want any other types of measurement in there. So what I can do is, again, going to my page view, I can select a page that I want and drag it and drop it into another flip chart. So in this case, I'm going to use this Untitled flip chart I have here. Drag it and drop it. Okay, so show you that again, all I do is just select it in my browser. Again, if you're using primary, you'd select it in your browser window down here, drag it up and drop it on Untitled. And now when I go in there, you can see that those 2 pages that I dragged in are available to me. I can also drag in multiple pages. So again, choosing the pages that I want, I'm just going to Control-click to select multiple pages in my flip chart there that I want. See if there's any other ones that are relevant, this one down here. And then I need to just go back to the first one that I chose and drag that and drop that onto my Untitled flip chart. When I go back there, you can now see that I've mixed up the pages from those flip charts. So again, creating a new flip chart out of 2 other ones that I've downloaded for Promethean Planet. Right, just moving on, I'm going to go back to our already created content flip chart for a minute. And we want to look at using other types of already created content. So you're not just limited to making use of content only created in ActivInspire. There are various ways that you can make use of other great resources created in other programs. Another great feature of ActivInspire is the ability to link to other documents, links, and web links and applications. What I like about this is that I can have everything that I need for a lesson, my worksheets, presentations, web links, all in one location, allowing me to move through my lesson smoothly. Adding a link is simple. I'm just going to use a page in my Untitled one here. So all I do is I want to go up to Insert in my main menu and Link. And in this case, I'm going to link to a file. I then need to locate the file on my computer. And I've located it right here, a PowerPoint presentation, and click Open. This then opens up my Insert File window that gives me some options of how I can attach this to my page. So there's different ways that I can add the link. In this case, I want to attach it to an existing object. And then I just click the dot, 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 and what I want to do is attach it to this PowerPoint, this Word down at the bottom. And I know that it's actually the last thing I put on my page, but what's really great is using this select object, I can see if it's the right object right here because it gives me a little image of everything that's on my page. And I'm just going to click OK or select. And now this is a really important step and one that a lot of people forget. I always recommend that when you're creating links that you store in the flip chart. The reason for this is that if I then decide to move this flip chart or share it with somebody else or put it up on a VLE so that other teachers in my school can use it, if I've left the PowerPoint to be stored externally, it means that the link will break, and when they click on the PowerPoint here, nothing will open, or it'll tell you that that file doesn't exist anymore. So storing it in my flip chart means that if I move this file, the PowerPoint will move with it. Okay, so really important to do that. And then I just want to click OK. And now when I hover over top of that, you'll see that there's a little play sign there, means that there's a something attached to it. And I can click on that, and that will action it, and that will open up my PowerPoint software, as you can see. Okay. Now, I'm just going to let that open up in the background. The software also lets me import several file types, creating a new flip chart of content. So to see what's available, I just go up to, let's go back to our flip chart for a second there. We're just opening up the PowerPoint. I go up to File and then Import. So you can see down here, I have the option of importing PowerPoint, PDF, or Smart Notebook files. I can also import Smart Gallery items, and we've got another option down here, Common File Format. So a common file format for interactive whiteboard resources has been started, so you can import those type of files in here as well. I'm actually not going to go into details about that today, but if you want to find out more about this common file format, there's a really great blog on Promethean Planet by Planet super user Danny Nicholson that I recommend that you have a look at. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you what it looks like when I import a PDF. I'm just going to select PDF, and again, it's going to ask me to find it. So I've got a file on my desktop for today's session, and I'm going to click Capacity there and open it up. And what this does is it then opens up a window, and I can customize how that PDF is going to look. I've played around with this, and I actually like keeping it in the original PDF page size, but it also depends on the type of PDF that you're bringing in, so it is worth having a little play around with this if you're going to decide to use this option. And then I'm just going to click Import. And you can see it's now created another flip chart, and that is a flip chart of my PDF page. Now, this isn't ideal on a page because it's actually quite small. So for this activity, I would want my learners to be able to come up, write down the name of the object, give an estimate, and then actually measure it and find out what the answer is. And these spaces are a little bit small like this. But what I can do up here in the top right corner is I can change the view of my page. So right now it's set for best fit, and I'm actually going to change it to fit to width. So now I've got much better space for writing that in. They could come up and write their ideas in. We could estimate it and then go off and measure them. And I've got my little scroll bar here, so I still have all of that page available to me. So a great way of bringing up the PDFs that you already have and making them, adding that little bit of interactivity onto them, making them a bit more interactive. Some files will import very nicely into a flip chart page, where others will take a bit of customization once imported. The benefit in any case, though, is it saves you valuable time by having all of the images, text, and everything in one location for you. And then you can just move them around to fix them in your software. Just before I move on to our last little bit for today's session, I'm just going to go up to File and back to Import. If you look here, there's actually two options for importing PowerPoint. You can import them as images or as objects. Now, I always recommend to people when you import PowerPoint that you select the As Objects option. The reason for this is often on a PowerPoint you've got a text box with your text, you have a heading that's in its own text box, and maybe images or clip art of some sort. If I choose this option, it then brings those in as individual objects. That means that I can move the text and the objects around, and it also means that I can go in and I can edit the text. If you choose the first option, what it does is take a snapshot of each individual slide, and it makes it one picture on a page. So therefore I can annotate over top of it, but I wouldn't be able to move objects around separately or edit the text either. Okay, so I always recommend that you use PowerPoint as objects. So the last thing that I would like to talk about tonight is desktop annotation. And desktop annotate is a little button that looks like this, and you can find it on your toolbar right up here at the top. Now in the primary skin, it'll be in the exact same place and it looks very similar as it does here. Okay, your toolbar is just slightly different colored, so the background's a little bit different colored, but it's in the same location. If you're not sure, remember if you hover over any of the tools in the software, it'll come up with that tool tip to tell you what it is. So you're looking for the one called Desktop Annotate. What this allows me to do is to annotate over top of documents, applications, or even websites. So it means that I can interact with already created content without having to actually import it into my ActivInspire software. I just click on the Desktop Annotate. My tools are still available to me. So you can see I've got my toolbar here, I've got my browser window down here, and my PowerPoint is here behind me. What's great about it is that I can still interact with my PowerPoint. So I'm clicking through the pages there. But I have those tools available to me. So I can pick up my pen and maybe we want to annotate over top of it, take some notes on something that we're discussing. Okay? The way it works is it puts what I term an acetate. If you remember overhead projectors and acetates. It puts an acetate over top of my page. So if I want to get rid of those annotations, I just change the acetate, or in this case, I turn the page. I can go back to the acetate that I used at any time and see my annotations there. And if we look at what that looks like in the browser window for our pages, you can see here I can't actually see the background, but the annotations are saved. Okay? When I go back into my software, it's put another flip chart up at the top here called Desktop Flip Chart, and I could save that. So it means that if we are looking at a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, a website, and we're taking notes as we've gone along, I can keep those notes to go back to and look at and review for another time. Okay, so again, I just click on that, and it means that my page, my background is still live there. So you can see I've now got website. The annotations there don't fit, so I just change that page and I have a new annotation there, sorry, a new acetate on top of it, and I can interact with this page as well. So I can toggle between Desktop Annotate and a flip chart that I'm working on right from within my software. Okay, so just remember that if you do use this, and I think there are very many ways that you can use that with my desktop flip chart at the top, all I have saved is the annotations. It doesn't take a picture of the background. Okay? Well, I hope that I've given you a few things to think about. We've looked at some of the benefits of using already created content and how they can be customized and reworked once opened in ActivInspire. We also looked at using content created in other applications and how you can import some of these into Inspire, creating a new file in flipchart format. We looked at other ways that you can interact with already created content using various features and tools of ActivInspire, such as creating links and desktop annotate. Just to finish off, Sam is now going to quickly take you through possible next steps and where you can go to find out more on how to do all that I've shown you in this session. Thank you.
No, thank you, Janice. Thank you for taking us through all of those things. And I hope that everyone found today's webinar to be helpful. As Janice said, I would just like to remind you that you can review the skills that you've seen today by revisiting your Introduction to ActivInspire course, which can be found under the Professional Development tab on Promethean Planet and also in the Community Forums. Also under that Professional Development tab are the Active Tips. Now these are short video tutorials on how to complete a variety of functions with ActivInspire, from creating containers to working with Magic Ink. You're able to watch the Active Tip video, or if you would like to download it, you can do so to your MP3 players by subscribing to our podcast. Make sure that after you've finished watching the video, you do download the associated flip chart. That way that you can practice your newly acquired skills using the same examples that you've just seen. And finally, there is also great support under the Help files, which comes under the Help menu and the main menu of your software, a very unutilized resource, and you will find lots of answers there as well. Now, this particular series of webinar titles have been selected in consultation with Babcock Education and reflect content that was suggested by the teachers within that region. But if you would require, or you do require additional training, Promethean work closely with accredited organisations throughout our channel partners and academies programme. You can find more information about them by visiting your relevant Promethean Planet site, again under that Professional Development tab. We would also recommend contacting your local education support team within your local authority for information on region-specific recommendations. Now, as we've said, this is part of a series of webinars, so now you'll be able to see the further titles that we will be looking at in the future. Although we try to advertise locally, we recommend that you do keep an eye on our advertisement in the training forum for Promethean Planet, and registration for them all is now open. If you are a Scottish teacher, you will also find this information in the Promethean storeroom on Glow. And finally, Janice and I both advertise via Facebook and Twitter, and on the screen now are our Twitter handles. We always love more followers, so if you are a member of Twitter and you would like to see what's going on with Promethean, with Janice and myself, then do feel free to follow us. Also, we would ask that if you have enjoyed today's session and are looking at registering on future sessions, if possible, it would be nice if you could retweet that advertisement so that your colleagues, your friends and followers could also gain the benefit of coming onto the session. Remember, they don't have to be on the live session itself. They can register for it and we will send them the recording later. Now, as promised, like I just said, we will be sending this recording to you. I don't think there's any other questions, so thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you on a future session.
Thank you.